Okay, I think we'll restart because it showed me that we just connected. So, hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our final episode of Pivot in Progress for 2025. It's been a really eventful year, I'm sure, for many of you, as much as it has been for us as well. And even though a lot of you might be busy, um, you know, vacationing, traveling, or perhaps mired in job search or career transitions as well, we thought it would be good if we take out just a few minutes today to kind of acknowledge the year that has gone by, but at the same time look ahead into 2026. And so for that, we'll spend the next about 20 odd minutes or so going through whatever our experiences, learnings have been at Pivot, what things have we been grateful for, things that we know are going to drive the future of work, future of job markets, and career transitions in 2026. Um, but for those of you who don't know me, I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Arjun, and I'm the founder of Pivot. What we do here is we help people make ambitious career transitions, which could mean something as relatively simple as going from one company to another in a better job profile, like moving from an IC to manager role or leadership role, or sometimes making more ambitious transitions, like I said, like an inflection point in your career, something akin to a domain or industry switch, moving geographies, starting something of your own after a 9 to 5, those kind of transitions. um, yeah, with that, let's dive into the year that has been, which is 2025. So in 2025, from a job search and career transition perspective, I want to break it down into some of the things that we saw that didn't work, some of the things that we saw which worked really well. Again, all from an individual career growth and transition perspective. So I think 2025 obviously was one of the biggest years in the recent eras from a layoff standpoint. And the other thing that everybody knows and constantly talks about these days is how AI has been also impacting the job market, both from demand and supply of talent perspective, but also in terms of the type of skills, type of talent that companies need today, as opposed to, let's say, even 3 or 4 years ago. So these two by far were the most impactful factors to drive the job market from a mid-career professional standpoint. And what they did was generally put a downward impact for mid-career professionals, meaning for layoffs, what we saw is that a lot of the layoffs that happened were happening for folks not based on their performance, but based on business restructuring, based on just change in future direction, future strategy of the company. So when these kind of changes are taking place, it's not usually up to the HR team. It's not usually up to the managers to decide who should necessarily stay or go. Yes, they will have an input, but largely the decisions are being made at the top leadership level, because they are setting the strategy for the entire organization. So for example, we know FANG companies, we know the MBBs, we know large companies across industries which are extremely profitable, have a lot of cash flow as well, decided to lay off in 2025 in hordes and hordes. Why did they do this? If they have so much money, why do they need to fire people? The reason they are letting people go is because their competitors are leading the charge on layoffs. So if, let's say, I have a competitor who is laying off 10,000 employees, that means they are becoming more lean. They are continuing to produce the same output or revenues with a leaner organization, which means that their their return on capital is much more efficient from a shareholder perspective, right? Because return means how much profit I'm delivering, and based on how much investment is being made. Now, if my employee base has shrunk, my investment is lower, right? Because I don't have to pay those salaries anymore. If I don't have to pay those salaries anymore, but I'm continuing to keep my revenues, my profitability at the same level, that means I'm a more efficient and productive organizations, which means I should be valued more highly. Shareholders typically give you as a company more credit for driving results in a leaner manner, right? So let's say if you're spending 100 rupees to drive 10,000 rupees worth of revenue versus you're spending 500 rupees to drive 10,000 rupees worth of revenue, shareholders will reward the first organization more attractively because they are spending only one fifth of the amount but driving the same revenues. So this is a long-winded way of saying that even though many companies could afford to keep employees on the payroll, they could not, because when they saw one of their competitors laying off and hence driving more efficiency for that company, they had to follow suit because their shareholders would otherwise invest in the other company, not in them. So yeah, it's not fair necessarily. We'll keep that topic aside from a fairness standpoint for now, but let's focus more on what can you do as an employee in such a market where layoffs are rampant. I think the first thing is to not take it personally. A lot of times when people initially used to get laid off, let's say, in the dot-com bubble in 2000 or the financial crisis of 2010, 2009, 2010, um, lot of times people used to understand that this is related to a downturn in the economy. But in the current times there is no downturn per se in the economy. Things are working well. um, Economy is growing for India, for the globe, across the world. And a lot of times when people are being laid off, they feel like it's them, it's not the economy. So they take it sometimes personally, but please understand that this is not specific to any one individual because of performance reasons or anything like that. Yes, it could be sometimes related to your performance, um, but largely it's because of business restructuring and companies trying to become more lean, more efficient, and utilizing AI to drive the same or higher output rather than utilizing employees, which are more costly. That is a good segue into the next point that I want to make here, which is AI. So AI also has been a very significant factor in reshaping the job market today, especially in 2025 more than any other year, because now this is approximately been the third year since AI has really disrupted the job market. And so HRs and recruiters, hiring managers are finally starting to understand at a high level what is AI's capability in terms of producing the same work that humans have been doing. So for example, if there are 10 engineers that used to develop a product in 2024, how many employees or how many engineers are needed to develop the same product in 2025? It is not the same. It is not 10 anymore. It is, perhaps it could be 4, it could be 6, it could be 8, but it is definitely less than 10, because now the same employees are more productive due to AI, right? So you don't need the same number of people to deliver the same output. That's not necessarily true for every single company and every single team, but even if it is true for, let's say, 20% or 30% of the organization, it has an impact on those thousands of employees that constitute that 20-30%, right? And that's what we hear and see in the news. We obviously seeing large numbers like Amazon, for example, or other FANG companies, MBB companies have been laying off in thousands. But if you look at the percentage of the workforce, it's still not as big. It could be anywhere between 0.1% to something like 5%, right? Spread across couple of months, couple of years. So yeah, a lot of it has to do with AI. And the other equation that we have to definitely talk about here is how AI is impacting the skill requirements and across the board, not just for tech employees, but for non tech employees as well. So, if you're a marketer today, if you are somebody in strategy and operations, if you are somebody even in sales, you may be required to know how to work with the most productive and popular AI tools in the job market today, right? So think about a marketer trying to produce 10 campaigns over a quarter of the year, and earlier it took them, let's say, 5 team members who would brainstorm the campaigns and then strategize the execution, and then roll it out, measure the outcomes, and then improve upon that. Now that whole workflow cycle has been from a quarter to perhaps 1 month or 2 months. So obviously employers are looking for people who can help them expedite results. So one of the things with AI is expediting the outcomes much faster than what they used to be, and that's happening across the board. So AI tools, first and foremost, are being used to drive efficiency and speed. The second use case for AI tools has been how they help you improve the output. So that's the other area. You can think about improving the quality by, let's say, utilizing GPT or Claude for writing code, so that you have fewer errors, right? Because now you have AI taking the first crack at the code, and then you're reviewing AI's work. So it is much better to do, or much easier to do that rather than writing it from scratch. Um, so both the quality as well as the speed are being impacted, and if you can showcase that you have been able to drive those outcomes for your organization or even as a side project, right, I think it can make a lot of difference for your job search. So yeah, I think the first two factors that I wanted to cover were layoffs and AI. Third thing that I just want to quickly refer to with regard to 2025, how the job market has changed in a positive way, is that we are seeing a lot of demand for talent. A lot of pivot candidates have been getting good jobs, better jobs than what they had earlier in terms of pay, responsibilities, and certain other factors as well, like in terms of the brand they're associated with. Why is that happening? That's happening because companies understand that right now, if they don't hire the best talent for their requirements, they're going to lose out in the very near future. Because whoever has the right skills from not just AI perspective, which we have just discussed, but also from other functional or behavioral perspective, then it's going to be game over for many companies, because they're going to be a lot of haves and have nots. They're going to be companies that really win the markets. You know how Google is a monopoly, how Microsoft is kind of a monopoly in terms of OS and cloud computing. So there are going to be a lot more monopolies because of AI in the coming future, because if they uh, you know use that speed that AI provides you to win the go to market strategy, they can capture the entire market. So you need the best people on board to be able to drive those speedy executions for your GTMs and for your execution of any other functional work that you're doing at the company. So that's the good news, that there's a lot of demand in the market. There is more supply of talent than demand, honestly, because of the layoffs, because people have started looking for jobs more frequently. So, yes, you'll face more competition. But we get this question quite often, which is, hey, is it the right time to apply? Are companies still hiring, or should I wait for a few months? Is the market going to get better? And we do tell them, see, there's no bad time, there's no good time. Yes, there are seasons, there are certain year end timings which are not great. Starting of the year is slightly better, but you should focus more on your specific career goals. And if you think right now is the right time for you to make the move based on your background and your goals, then you should go ahead, because there is significant demand at some of the top companies right now. The other good news that I want to say is that a lot of people are realizing how current job boards are not working, right? So we have seen that a lot of the mainstream job boards, whether it's LinkedIn, Naukri, IM Jobs, um, a couple of others that are there, like Well Found, these are all great because they provide you access to the most number of jobs that are posted, right? But where they are failing miserably is making it easier for job seekers to apply to any and every job without even reading the job description. Um, AI has enabled this behavior even further because now, if let's say you're applying, earlier you would just apply with a irrelevant resume because you had not read the JD, and you would think that it's a 1 second requirement to just click on easy apply, or fill out a short form which takes a minute or so. But now there are a lot of candidates who are actually using AI to minimize the time it takes to customize the job application. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? The good is that you don't have to spend that much time customizing your applications. The not so good part is that because many people are doing that today, it's harder to stand out. It's harder to differentiate yourself, because earlier, let's say, only 20-30% of people would customize their resumes, their outreach messages to people when they were networking. And we have seen that those customizations used to work really well, but in recent times those customizations are not working as well because so many job seekers are starting to do that. So it's become harder for companies to differentiate, right? So it's a double-edged sword. Yes, you can do more customization in a faster manner, but at the same time, you are facing more competition because others can also do the same thing, right? So even if, let's say, there are 500 candidates who have applied to a job opening, out of those 40%, only 40% are using AI, any free AI software to customize. That's still 200 people who are using AI to customize. If you are one of those 200, it's very hard to stand out. And obviously, the other 300 who have not customized, they stand even a lower chance of getting shortlisted. So, the good thing is that people are realizing that just blindly applying to jobs, which we call spray and pray, is not working anymore. They are taking acknowledgement of the fact that they have to do something which is more high quality and conversion focused, as opposed to high quantity and volume focused, right? So people are moving away from volume based job search strategy. They are moving towards a quality based job search strategy, right? So let's talk about that. So I want to spend the next few minutes just talking about what is a conversion focused high quality job search strategy, which we think is going to play a very important role in 2026, right? So this is something that we have seen with thousands of pivot users over the last year. When they change their mindset from volume to quality, the entire job search strategy changed, right? Now it's not anymore about just quickly refreshing your resume, putting it in GPT, trying to customize it for every JD that you see on LinkedIn and Naukri and IM Jobs and other uh, job boards. That used to be the strategy in, I would say, even till earlier half of 2025. So the first half of 2025, most people were still applying this strategy. There are still many people who apply this strategy, but we are seeing a shift towards the new strategy, wherein before you apply to any jobs, you do certain things to ensure that you stand out from other candidates in the job market. Otherwise, you will be pegged in that crowd who's using AI to customize, right? So, how do you be in the top 10% starting in 2026? Number one, think about which type of role and industries are the best fit for you. You don't want to blindly think that, okay, if I've been in HR, talent acquisition, that's the only role that I will continue to do in the foreseeable future. You're acquiring talent, for example, you probably understand how skill requirements are changing drastically. Can you also think about expanding your role into more of an L&D kind of a role, learning and development role? I'm just sharing an example here because people understand better with examples, and we do get fair number of folks from HR background. About 15% of our clientele is from HR background. um, but more importantly, what you need to focus on here is take into account your skills, your interests, your priorities, and compare them to what are the key requirements in the job market from a hiring trend perspective. Where do your strengths line up well? Where do your priorities from a career standpoint line up well? And based on that, make an informed decision on what kind of role and industry is the right fit for you going forward, so that your profile positioning is well defined, right? Because when you understand your strengths, your interests, your priorities, and you understand the job market well, then you are able to link the two very well, which helps you define how you are different compared to other candidates in the job market, right? If I'm just a marketer, or I'm an engineer, or I'm a project manager, and I've been doing that for, let's say, 10, 15 plus years. And now I think, okay, I just want to continue on that path. So let me just regurgitate what I have done in the last my role that I had, and then put that on my resume and outreach messages, LinkedIn, etc. Everybody else is doing that too. How are you different? You're not, right? So you have to do that introspection to understand how your internal factors specific to you relate to the job market. The second thing that I think is very critical is doing in-depth research on the companies that you're applying to. I know a lot of people uh, tell me that this is a very time consuming exercise, and it can be. But see, you have to do harder things if you want to achieve above average results, right? If you do easy things, you will achieve below average results most of the times, right? So if you are going to do the GPT or AI based customization, that's a very simple, easy, low hanging fruit for many, many candidates, because anybody can do it. So if you do that, results are subpar, below average. If you do in depth company research, well, let's say you go to their annual report, you go to their social media, or sometimes you can even use AI to do this research. Um, you identify just one or two insights related to that company's recent trends, right? How they are, let's say, navigating certain industry wide challenges or trying to enter a new market with a new product. So, whatever these insights are, you gather those, and based on that, you share some customization of your profile, that this is how you are able to actually going to help them achieve that goal or navigate that challenge. You can customize your resume, your LinkedIn, your outreach messages for this research. Later on, if you get an interview, you will be well prepared because, again, you have done this research already, right? So I think these kind of things make a lot of difference. Um, Apart from just clarity bit, the other thing that we have seen working really well in the very recent past is portfolios. So a lot of times companies are not just looking for you to tell them what you have done, they want you to show them what you can do for them, right? So apart from getting clarity and differentiating your profile positioning, apart from doing research on the company, portfolios for any role, it doesn't matter if you're a product manager or designer, where all I would say a portfolio is almost an expectation, or an assignment is almost an expectation. But even for, let's say, finance roles, even for supply chain roles, there are times you will be given assignments, you will be expected to have portfolio. And if even if you don't, uh, like if you are not expected to have portfolios or an assignment, you should still consider showcasing the skills, demonstrating how you'll be able to help the organization achieve certain goals, right? That is critical in my view. So we see a lot of folks who are currently just following the traditional job search strategy. They will not even think about having a portfolio. But the top 10% of candidates, we have seen many a times that they want to have some sample work that they can showcase to their target organization. So I think, yeah, these things are quite important for 2026. I do hope that you take into account um, how your role and your job search may be impacted specifically based on not just these three factors, but also other things that you might have seen work well for your peers who might be applying. So that's another thing, is that when you network, um, you will realize what's working, what's not working for other job seekers as well. And that's going to bring me to my fourth and final point for today, which is probably the biggest trend that we are going to see in 2026. It's that more and more jobs are going to get filled through networking. It's going to be inevitable that companies will require referrals, they will require warm introductions, they will require some sort of human to human connection to make hiring decisions more often than they have in the past. The reason is there are so many people applying to each job opening, and it's become much harder for the ATS systems, the recruiters, and hiring managers to shortlist applications, because there are so many applications that look good on paper, right? Because again, everybody seems to be using AI. So it's become harder for companies to um, distill the best candidates through their traditional methods. They are using more assignments or portfolios. They are looking for more um, your referrals based candidates and warm introduction based candidates. So they are looking for these new ways to hire. So I would say, apart from clarity, apart from research on the company, apart from building portfolios, this is going to be the biggest trend from a hiring and job market perspective in 2024. Pivot is going to release a bunch of new products in 2024 to help job seekers navigate their transitions better based on these four factors, right? So stay tuned. A lot is yet to come, and I hope you were able to take something away from this session that you can apply towards your job search success in 2026. I wish you all the best, and I hope that we are able to work together in 26, whether it's through our platform or even one-on-one personalized support that we provide through industry experts and our in-house career strategists. All right, with that, we are ready to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of the year and wish you a very, very happy new year in case I don't see you before 2026.